Alright, what's going on everyone? My name is Glyphic, and I'm back with another Borderlands 3 video. Today, I'm going to be talking about this build I made called Run and Gun Amara, because you're going to be running real fast, and you're going to be destroying people with your guns. Because this is a gun damage Amara build, unlike all the current Amara builds that are just melee, which are getting quite old. So, if you don't know Amara, she's been getting nerfed quite heavily recently, and so the only viable options for her are melee builds, and those have just been the only viable options for her for the past few months. So the fact that a gun damage Amara build can do damage is quite rare. So I'm showing off one that can do a lot of damage very easily with that not very difficult to get gear. There's only one or two things that are kind of difficult to get. So the first thing you're going to want is an Anarchy. An Anarchy is the main gun because this gun is probably the highest base damage of any gun you can get in the game after you stack up its stacks, because its special ability is every time you get an automatic reload, you can see if I empty my mag, my accuracy is going to decrease just the tiniest bit every single time until 10 stacks, and every time you do that, your damage is also going to increase. And so this gun actually has a glitch right now where automatic reloads aren't the only thing that increase the stacks. Just regular reloads will too. So if I shoot and then reload immediately, my accuracy decreases, which means I'm getting stacks right now even though I'm not automatically reloading. I'm just reloading by pressing the reload button. So that is crazily strong. Just the fact that that works makes this gun so much better than before, because if you lose all your stacks, if you lost all your stacks before this glitch, then you would just not have any way to do damage, and you'd have to either run away and then build up stacks for a little bit, or somehow kill someone so you could build up stacks, because that's also how this gun builds up stacks, is by killing enemies. But the fact that you can just reload now and build up stacks makes it so much better. I don't know if that's just a glitch with console or if that's just me. I've saved and quit. I've exited out of the game completely, and I made sure hotfixes are on. It always does that no matter what. So that makes this gun amazing. For the shield, you're going to want a transformer with an ASE. Any ASE works. Just make sure you have a transformer, because that's what this build is revolving around. The class mod, get a spiritual driver. I have one with shotgun damage, but make sure you have 3 points into mindfulness. That's this green skill right here. That is going to be the main thing you want, because that increases your movement speed. And if you don't know what the spiritual driver is, the faster you're moving, the more damage you get. So the more movement speed you have, the more gun damage you're going to do. So yeah, I have one with 33% shotgun damage, which is really, really good. The max health and the SMG damage are don't really do anything. But make sure you get 3 into mindfulness. That's the most important thing. Relic, get an elemental projector victory rush. The elemental projector is while you're suffering an elemental effect, increase your damage with that same element. So when we're activating our action skill, we're going to have shock equipped. And so you can see my shield is not depleting at all because of the transformer. Shock damage doesn't hurt me anymore. Instead, I gain shield from it, which means 2 things. 1, we can move really, really fast without any damage being taken. And 2, our action skill cooldown is going to be really, really good because of topped off. When your shields are full, then you get bonus action skill cooldown rate. And because our shields are almost always going to be full because we're constantly gaining shields with the transformer, then we're going to have our action skill, like you can see down the bottom corner. It was 9 seconds maybe. And we have 2 charges of it, which is really, really good. And so for the grenade, get any grenade you want. Just get one with an ASE. Get whatever ASE matches the occasion. For the skill tree, we're getting personal space to get 54% damage, 5 out of 5 en route to rise, and then 2 out of 5 in arms deal just to get down to mindfulness, 3 into mindfulness. No other points in here. I just have, that's for my class mod, so no points in that. No points in purple tree because we're not doing splash or melee. And then for blue tree, get super, super standard. Always put 5 points into restless to get that cooldown rate. If you spec all the way down here and just put as many points as necessary to get down to here, then you're going to have 3 points left over for this build, and I just put those 3 points into Awakening for bonus rush stack effectiveness. That's only for reload speed, which isn't really that useful, but do harm and reload speed are pretty good. And then red tree, we're going down to sustainment, just 1 point into sustainment, because the 1 point in sustainment makes it so you will constantly be healing to full every time you hit an enemy, because you're going to be doing elemental damage with your action skill and anointments. And the 4%, you're going to be doing millions of damage with this gun. So 4% of a million is still like 40,000. So like 40,000 health on a low damage shot is still going to max out your health. So yeah, get just everything necessary in here, everything that's like regular. There's two ways you can play this build. You can either use it with phase cast, which is what I prefer, or you can do it with ties that bind. They each do it a little bit differently. So for phase cast, just run around, constantly activate your action skill and shoot enemies, and always use phase cast for bosses. Phase cast is what you're going to want for bosses, because using phase grasp on bosses has some really weird things that don't always work. So just always use phase cast on bosses. But so for ties that bind, you can see if I activate my action skill, it shows that I'm affected by shock. But as you can see, my movement speed isn't increasing at all, which means I'm not actually hurting myself, which means that shock damage isn't there. So I'm not inflicting any status effect on myself. So even if I activate my action skill, it doesn't work, because Amara got a nerf a couple months ago that made it so all things that worked on action skill end actually worked with her, instead of doing it on action skill start like this. So you actually need to phase grasp an enemy and then kill them in order for you to start proccing your shock dot on yourself. So it's kind of annoying, which is why I prefer to just use phase cast, because it's more consistent. Ties that bind does have a shorter cooldown though, so if you want that, you can just use that. Like ties that bind I think has 18 seconds and this has 28 seconds, so it's a pretty major difference. I'm pretty sure ties that bind has somewhere around like 5 seconds of a cooldown. If you're actually playing, it's like 4 or 5 seconds. So there is a pretty weird glitch in addition to the one of like that on the Anarchy. So one, if you go into fight for your life, sometimes you'll lose all your stacks and sometimes you won't. I don't know what changes it. I don't know what the cause is for either one, but I've just noticed that sometimes I'll lose all my stacks and sometimes I won't. And two, so right now you can see if I reload, nothing changes to my accuracy because I'm at full 10 stacks. If I reload, nothing changes. But if I reload and then do something that cancels it, like a melee or activating an action skill or throwing a grenade, anything like that, opening a menu, anything that cancels your reload will instantly reset your stacks back to 0, which makes this gun kind of difficult to use. You can see I'm gaining stacks again because you're going to be activating your action skill a lot. So the fact that you have a chance of accidentally resetting your stacks is kind of annoying. But so what I just do is I just empty my mag. I almost never reload because reloading just means I have a chance of accidentally resetting my stacks. So I usually just empty my mag, and then when it's at 0, I wait, throw it, and then I shoot again, and then I activate my action skill, because that will prevent you from accidentally canceling all your stacks. So you can see, like, if I reload and then activate my action skill, then my accuracy is back to what it was. So just make sure you don't do that. And that's pretty much the end of the build. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and have a magnificent day.
Now that is definitely your target! Light that giant bastard up!